today the topic of discussion is we are going to talk about KPIs. So before we start, I just want to know how many of you already know about KPIs. Your hand was a little late. Okay, so to start with, I think we'll break it a little down. Who's going to talk about what's exactly the definition of KPI, like what KPI stands for? Anybody wants to?
I don't know the exact definition, but I can put it in my words.
Okay.
So KPIs are key performance indicators that, like maybe at organization level or at the self level, where we evaluate the progress that we made on that parameter or on that scale.
Yes, exactly put in a very few words. To understand more about what exactly is KPI, we'll do a very small exercise, kind of Sandeep Manishwari. So we'll raise our hands. Everybody raise our hands. Raise your hands. Okay. So if you see around the height that you have raised your hand, and one was not raising hand. So we know that if I talk about if my raising hand is a metric, everybody has raised their hand to this level, to this level, to this level, and somebody has not raised it. So if I have to judge, what exactly did you put your hands on?
Okay.
So you exactly have to judge how something is performing, right? If you see around, it's there organically. It's just how you see it. For someone who's hosting a conference like this, and if this room is full up, and I would say raise your hands. Maybe I'm not able to see it. I would have to go further, see exactly on tables, and then I would understand who is raising their hand or not. But if the room is a little empty, I was able to see who's raising their hand, who's not raising their hand, the height of the, how much you have raised your hand. So that is what exactly KPI helps you do. Okay, to start with, we'll do a small exercise. I'm going to need your help to drive this further. It's going to be totally collaborative. I'm not going to explain anything. You guys are only going to do it by yourself. Okay. So you guys must be having stickies with you,
yes,
right? And a marker to write it down. Cool. So to start with it, okay, let's just forget KPI for a little while, and we'll only think about what exactly product-driven companies do. Or if let's say you are the founder, let's have this moment to believe that we are the founders of our own company that we have in our head. Let's think we are the founders of Uber for now. Okay? And we are going to think in a sense where if I am the CEO of Uber and if I'm building Uber, then how exactly I am going to think about the success of Uber is what we are going to do here. Okay? So I have divided this into two columns. One is what to measure and what to target. To start with, firstly we'll think about what to measure. Now feel yourself, take a moment and think about if you are the founder of Uber, what exactly you are going to measure. So write it down on your stickies.
Uber we have taken up.
Yes, Dipti is the founder of Uber.
No.
We have to feel that. You need a marker. You can use as many stickies you want. 5, 6, anything, whatever you feel should be measured. Huh? One thought, one sticky. For more thoughts, use more stickies.
I was wrong कि पेंसिल अच्छी होंगी.
Use a good marker. Put your
Yes.
shiny little words there.
Yes, है ना, बहुत मोटा है ये. पेन ले लेती ना, हाँ, नॉर्मल पेन बेस्ट है एक्चुअली.
So right now we're just focusing on
What to measure. Just what to measure. We will paste it. minutes. Yeah, but we'll put all together. No, just one. What to measure? Forget about the target. Just measure. Done? Everybody done? Cool. Table 1, put your stickies there. Starting with the first row, increase in market size, increase in profits, customer satisfaction, increase in reach, app performance, app install, churn rate. Okay. So some of these were at a very high level, some of these were like very in depth. And now if this is what to measure, right? For your own stickies that you have put, think about what to target. Okay. So what to measure you have already filled up. Now you have to think what you want to target.
Do we know the baseline?
There's no baseline. Just think that as a Uber founder, what I want to target, what I want Uber to become, what I want to achieve with Uber is what your target is.
So it would be mostly numbers, like numbers.
Can be numbers, it can be just objectives, it can be in just hypothesis manner also.
Like, is it like a goal?
Is it like a
Goal.
It can be a goal. It can be anything. Just be as creative as much as you can. Like Uber can one day have hard gadis also.
True.
Anything, any goal as a Uber founder.
Future.
Can be for the future, can be for the present. Anything that you feel as a Uber founder, I would want to target.
So this is what was our target. So
Yes,
we are
what-
measuring this because your target was this.
No, nothing to measure, nothing. It's just target. Simply just think about target. Don't connect with anything. No. Business expansion, users management, drivers management, revenue,
Operating costs.
operating costs, profits, system availability, customer services to be offered, CSAT greater than 90%, increase in ride 10% every month, customer response time less than 2 seconds, be the largest provider of road transport in India, interesting, customer wait time less than 5 minutes, be, okay, so now, how many of you feel what to target and what to measure are almost the same?
No, I don't think they are same. So what to measure is we are just taking on the line what we can measure. What to target is we are giving it a specific number or a count or a target that we have in mind. So one is putting a scale to it, one is to measure what we are thinking.
Okay, okay, ठीक है. But some of the things that have come up in target are more like what to measure also. Like if I give an example, better reviews is something you would like to measure, but it's not exactly a target for a founder. Reduce churn is what to measure, but not exactly the target of a founder. Increase onboarding, increase reach, improve retention. These things are what you would like to measure. If I would talk about be the largest provider of road transport in India is something that a founder would target. Be the most preferred road transport option in India is like very creative idea for a target. Increase market share to 60% is something which I would say is a great idea for target. Reasonable fare is also a good target. Women driver / pink cab, good idea can be a target. So a lot of these things, in fact, business expansion is a good target. Then revenue, opportunity cost, profit is a good target. System availability can be a target. Customer services to be offered is a good target.
Cities.
Customer cities.
Cities that where we
Okay,
order
cities. ठीक है. Cities in which services are to be offered is a good target. Increase in ride 10% every month is again something that you would measure, not exactly a target. CSAT greater than 90% is target. Okay. So if this is how our mind works, like even if somebody is having a conversation with you around a product, if you are, forget even your companies, the daily products that you are using, Amazon, Flipkart, Paytm, Uber, Slack, Gmail for example, okay? Every time a new feature is introduced in that application, you would always think in that perspective कि ये वाला feature तो इस reason से आया होगा. Now this is what they are targeting. This is what user problem is being solved. But that is not exactly how it works, right? And when we start to think towards and move towards data, that is how easily you get blinded and driven away from the target. So when we talk about what to measure, that's the point you start to thinking of target. I don't think about what all I can measure, like the extensive list of what all I can measure to build an app, to build a product. I would just start to think about what is going to be a target, and then I'll reverse engineer and think about what I should measure to reach that target, which should exactly be the thing that blinds you from being creative, from being innovative, from improving and building your product.
Can you give an example?
Okay, so I'll give an example. Like for example, if we talked about what to measure. So here, if I see increase in market size, increase in profits, customer satisfaction, increase in reach. If you would read all these, you would feel somebody was thinking about target. It's very, very defined on that thing, right? We are not talking about, like for example, if there is rides acceptance rate, it's very specific. Rides per driver per day, very specific. Sign-ups per day, very specific, right? So somebody was thinking about target at this point while writing these.
So how could we do it differently?
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
Okay, so how many of this helped you expand your thinking process? Like, give me a chair. If it helped you expand your thinking process, how you are thinking, how you are getting blind, right? Okay, great. But thank you guys for this very colorful sticky sheet. Good. Okay, so now, okay, one more thing. From the last, this sheet, what is going to be one metric that you want me to take it over to the next sheet? Like which one you found the most interesting in this case?
Market share.
Market share. There was a common one, I think, multiple times it had come, was the market share.
Increase market share to 60%. You want me to pick this up?
Is it a target or a vision?
It's a target. Increase market share.
It is a target. Why not the other one at the top? You said less than 2 seconds.
Less than customer
Yeah.
response time less than 2 seconds. Like what is going to be my target for here? Like what am I getting in revenue?
As that was relative, so this is also relative in that sense.
In target you are saying?
Yes.
On the same line, there is one which says that 60% of the market, which is more specific.
Yeah, it's 60% of the market, like increase in market share.
Yeah.
But we are not talking about what exactly the market, how we are going to increase that market share, which is again, this will build on my further initiatives, but this is not exactly the initiative, it's a target. That is
There
what
is
I'm
another
trying
one
to
which is
do.
the dark number of, if you look at diagonally, number of 70% of the market, number of.
Number of bookings, 70% of the market.
Would
But-
that also be like a target?
Mm,
So I think this would be target obviously because
Can be.
specifically talk
Right.
about 70%.
Can be.
Right? Because it's
Not
also like that.
relative anywhere.
It's actually both are kind of related, but just that it mentioned particularly to booking.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else you want to pick up from here?
I don't read what is written on the top.
Business expansion, user management, driver management, revenue, opportunity, cost, profit,
Operating cost.
operating cost. My bad, I'm not able to.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to pick up from this? Or have you done? Done? Good. Okay, so I have 3 stickies here. We'll put the target here, and then we are going to think about if I have to reach this target, then what exactly data source plus frequency of measuring that data and what I'm going to measure. Okay, so I'll just explain each of these 3. Data source is basically what data you need to figure out in order to think about this target. Like if I have my increase market share to 60%, then what all data within my product I would need to measure this.
Is it
Okay.
within my product or even outside?
It can be within your product, it can be outside your product, it can be competitors, but it's more like bringing into your product. So why I'm saying that is different is, like if you would just think about building something within your product only on the basis of what is there available on Google or what your competitor is doing, okay, or some marketing agency provided you data or market research, but it's exactly not a part of your product. It's not the truth that your product is speaking, right? The data which is always external can be blinded and can be dependent on several other things which you may not know. That data is already biased. So you should not make your decisions on what is external to your product. Your product should speak the truth, right? So I would recommend that right now we would think about what data source we should look into inside our product in order to measure a target. Then frequencies, how often you would measure this data source. How often you would measure data from this source in order to see if you are close by or you are far from your target. Then next is measure. Measure is what exactly you would measure. What exactly I would measure within this data source and how often I would measure it in order to reach this target. Got it? Cool. We'll take 2 minutes to write this down, and for now I'm putting increase market share to 60%.
Data source and what is this?
So, okay, data source is how you will get the data to measure a target. Like,
Like the target is to reach 60% market.
So how would I measure it within my product? Have I reached the market percentage that I want to reach? Like what data you would refer inside your product for that? And frequencies, how often? Like you would check it monthly, you would check it weekly, or you would check it like every day or maybe yearly, quarterly. What exactly is going to be the frequency? Measure is what particular part, like for example, target is a bigger story, right? Many measurements can lead to one target. So it's like you break it down and you tell what exactly you are going to measure in order to reach that target. Now one target can be measured by several things, several metrics. You want to have your stickies? You skipped in a bit.
You can give one like data source.
In one sticky, you
put,
write one measurement, one frequency, one data source. And if you have like multiple measures, so each sticky should have one measure, frequency and data source. Like for that measurement, what data source and frequency you take? 3 in one sticky. If you have like multiple measurements, then you take multiple stickies. But all 3 should be there in one sticky.
पोर्टेबल करते हैं
Port.
पोर्ट number by I'm saying the data will be the number of people who move from one
It will
to
take
the
another minute.
बट वो हमारी ऐप में फिर हमारा प्रोडक्ट कैसे मेजर करेगा?
जैसे एयरटेल करता था हम भी वो डाल सकते हैं ना ऐप में
वो नहीं डिटेक्ट होता,
हाँ
वो डिटेक्ट नहीं होगा ना.
Okay, so let's start. Okay, now we are targeting increase in market share to 60%. Okay, nothing from that perspective. We have number of new drivers registered. This we will measure daily, and driver onboarded / driver sign-ups. Next, customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, feature usage, technical depth plus new opportunities. Okay. Cancelled rides, weekly number of rides cancelled per user. Okay. Next is total number of transporters registered plus week, it will be measured. Next is satisfaction index NPS, and the source would be customer feed back into the system. Frequency would be once in a month. Then there is number of trips per day. Frequency would be day wise, and then data source would be systems. Okay. So if now I have to rethink about increase in market share to 60%. What exactly do you think contributes to that?
How many people move from some other to Uber is a good measure.
Number of people.
How will you measure that? Like
Number of
someone is
people
using
move
Ola-
from
Ola
competitor app to Uber app, and that is monthly plus percentage of increase during the sign-up.
General, yeah.
Or in general, how many new people have registered?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was a very good factor, that, but can be only measured through survey, and that can be done
But it could be
when someone is registering. What were you using earlier?
correct. Like I was thinking that when we moved from Airtel to Vodafone, we had that portability. So if we put that in the app as Uber, that when you move, there is some portability. You allow people, you attract people, and that's why they are able to register, right? When they would have known, like Vodafone would have known Airtel would have known that people have switched from Vodafone to their portability.
Right.
So I thought from that direction.
Or maybe adding as another question at the time of registering that were you using some other app in the
Yeah, as a mandatory
earlier-
question.
As a mandatory question. Yes, no.
Yeah,
first
yes or
time
no.
user of CAP or migrating
Ah,
from other
first.
CAP.
Because first will also help in that other measure that we have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I didn't read this one. There's also increase in market share contributed by cabs registered, booking requests, demographics, presence, distance covered, and this will be measured monthly, daily, quarterly, daily. And source would be number of cab, number of requests, number of cities, and kilometers. This, I think this is also good to measure the target.
The other measure could be how do you want to expand? You want to expand into, let's say you're in Delhi. You want to take it to your adjacent city. Or
Yeah.
expand the radius within Delhi.
Yeah.
Totally agree to that. There's number of trips per day.
Somebody is beginning somebody.
Number of new drivers registered daily, onboarded. Number of meetings, cancellation. There is a sticky one.
Along with that, Anand, I think suppose that we are expanding from Delhi to Bangalore, we should also see the success rate or the number of files.
I think I'm not able to see the sticky one.
So certainly initially we get a lot of rides because we do a lot of advertisements and other things, but then they start dropping off. So we should measure the consistency as well.
Wait, how many drop?
Drop is very
How many drops is important? Yes.
We'll come to that later. It's good that everybody's getting the negative perspective, right? Okay. So we have
These are getting turned to number of rides only. The number of rides which are increasing. that is
number of trips per day, frequency day-wise, and system is the data source. Number of trips per day, will that contribute to increase in market share?
Yes.
Yes. Everybody, yes? Agree? Number of trips per day,
That contributes to market.
right?
Yes.
That's a major factor.
How many does she has marked? Number of trips per day.
Total number of transporters registered weekly, number of paid transportation in India.
Total number of transporters registered may not contribute to
Correct.
the increase in the demand.
Correct.
Number of
Cancelled.
rides may contribute, but
Okay, so there's a negative one also. Cancelled rides weekly, number of rides cancelled per user. This one
Yeah,
I would take.
yeah.
Okay. What else, guys? What else? We are very low. We only have 4. Okay, one thing I would like everybody to put your notice is like the other sheet that we filled up was filled up with stickies, right? And here the number of stickies reduced. And I think this exercise was a little hard on your brain to think, right? So this is what exactly I want to put it across. Whenever you are thinking about a number, right, you have to not think about source. Think of target, source as 2 separate things. Because a lot of times what you want to target may not be there directly in your data. It can be something hidden in your product. Maybe you're not just measuring and storing in your database, right? But it can be there. But that perspective only counts once you think out wide, right? So you need to think of target and your measurement as a 2 separate things. What you can measure, you can always increase the number of metrics I want to measure. I want to keep on measuring whatever I built, every single feature I want to roll out. I want to think that how I can measure once I release it. That's a good thing. But not everything will contribute to your target, to your goal. It can be something which is right now having some low attention, but maybe gradually with time your data tells you that this is growing, right? But it can only happen once you put your focus around that I need to measure everything. But it may not be my target today, right? So here we took one target, we thought about how and what data I would take to measure and what exactly I would measure which will contribute to this target. Now this one particular, like we had 1, 2, 3, 4. We had 4 measurements here. They may not be 100% of what can contribute to this target, but exactly it's a start, right? Now if you keep thinking of this target, like you take this back with you at home, if you keep on thinking, by night you will get many ideas how you can target this, right? So that is exactly what you are doing here. You are thinking, we are picking one metric one by one. You're not thinking what, like if I need to, like in the business board meetings, what happens is we need to increase our market share by 60%. Give me ideas. Now people will start because they have like few minutes to give ideas, right? They would run their brains and they will give ideas on we should do this, we should do this, we should do that. But it's only restricted to your knowledge right now at this moment, right? So we need to get out of it. We need to expand our knowledge because it's there. Ideas are already coming out from people who are using internet, who are using mobile apps. Your app every release is just dependent on the knowledge you are giving to the company while using this product. It's there in your data, right? Okay, so next we have number of, okay, this is kind of similar. Next we have cities, services to be offered. What exactly was this?
So we need to target the various cities that we have to offer services.
Okay.
Expand into various cities to increase your market share.
Okay, so this is the second exercise. This is the target. You have to increase the cities where you're offering your services, right? So now think the same way. You need to figure out data source, frequency, and measurement. Let's see if we do it better this time. You want more stickies?
नहीं नहीं नहीं
So the data source should be different only on this.
Not exactly.
Can be expanded.
Yes, can be extended. So sorry. The number of cities where your services are offered. Which of these are actually contributing to that target?
There is something on fuel.
Policies.
I like that point very much.
Policies one as well.
What else?
Was there any sticky that said, are there any current services in any of the state, any of the city?
Places, services being offered frequency 15 days.
That is a good one to check.
My brain is not working definitely.
The other option is how are people using the system today? Do we really have an option to enter entry criteria for a market?
So you would want to go for people using 2 wheels or to the alternative options.
Yeah.
Okay. City level rider ratings weekly number of half ratings at city level. This can be a contributor. Okay, what else? What else? Number of companies started in city monthly. I think this would also be city level expansion. This is it, right? Okay, so to contribute to number of cities where your services are offered, we are measuring city level rider ratings. We are measuring places services being offered, percentage increase in every quarter. Then we have a number of companies started in cities. Then there is people using their own vehicles, and then there is increase in different cities, and there are multiple parameters that have been mentioned: occupation, public commute, culture, economy, policies, government policies, safeties, and fuel price. Right? Cool. I think the second one was a little more hard on your brain than the first one, and this all you have given. I have not taken anything, right? So I'm just picking your brains. Cool. Okay. So now, anything that you would like to rethink or retrospect in your head. Like firstly, we talked about what to measure, what to target. Then we had the target, which we picked up from our own thoughts. Then we had how, like, I chose my target, but was I clear about what data source, what frequency, and what exactly I would measure to reach that target? Somewhere I was clear, somewhere I wasn't, but at least I knew where to start, right? What else thoughts you had in your mind that helped you write this all? Like what exactly you were able to retrospect in your head? Anybody would want to share?
One thing I had was, if I have to depend on external data, how should I trust that data?
Exactly. Exactly. And I think before that you started with if we can always use the external data, and where I said that we will take you there, right? So this
I
is.
may not have all the data with me. For example, I just want to understand, are people really feeling the pressure of driving every day, or would they prefer to spend 100 rupees more on going cab? So to get the data, I don't have any medical data or any kind of emotional aspect data with me.
Right.
If I have to go to outside and ask for some data, if they can cook up some data, and if I trust it and run a business, I'm out of business. How do we get trustful data?
Exactly. So this particular point is.
In this case, can we get data from multiple sources?
How do you trust that?
Exactly.
See, my point here is we're not getting it from one source. We're getting the same data from multiple sources, right? So if one is an outlier, you can always go.
Okay. So if in that sense, like although this is out of scope, but something, since it is coming up in our heads, we'll just talk about it. If I take your point of view over his point of view, and let's say if I am a person who is only dependent on cash, and I'm going to be the first time user to use any electronic payment method, right? Now I have two options, Paytm and Google Pay, right? I signed up to both, and if you read data from both of these sources, you would understand, okay, Yogyata is a common person who's signing up to both of them, which means intent of online payment is high. But one day I just thought that I just signed up, but I never used it. Can you rely on this data? It's just an emotional sense. I thought one day maybe I should start using online payment, but next day I changed my thoughts.
Yeah.
Right? And in that sense, which you are saying, although this is out of the scope of this KPI metrics, every data metric that you read over time, after the instant, the older data becomes false, because your market is also changing with time. So if you will start to think over, like if I have an Uber, I have Ola, let's say Ixigo, I have many other players in the market, then somewhere what Yogyata is booking rides and her emotional intent of booking rides is the same throughout the time, which is actually not true. I might even get more frustrated booking rides, which I am already. Like if I want to book a ride on Uber every day, like if I have to commute to office, I do 2 bookings. I do in driver, I do in Uber, to see in which I can get a cheaper ride and to see in which I can get a ride faster, right? So for Uber, if Uber is referencing me as a user, they are studying my behavior. Obviously, they don't know that I'm comparing in-driver right now with them, and similarly with in-driver. But this behavior that I developed is developed over time. This was not there when I first signed up to Uber. Maybe when I first signed up to Uber, I was using Uber only. I even had a rider pass. I was, booking Ubers daily for both of my side of commutes, right? And even I was using Uber offers, right? There was a Uber pool when we started, but after COVID it stopped. That also again impacted my behavior, right? So now, even if I book these rides in these two applications, over the time when I'm traveling on road, every day when I see the traffic, even in Uber ride, I do get frustrated with traffic, right? So does my behavior of driving my own vehicle or even staying in Uber rides, how does that even impacting, right? One day even I just stop doing it. If I would say that okay, I need to take a call at home once I reach, so if I am leaving late from the office, I'll definitely not choose Uber or any of the ride. I would go via metro. But I need to reach home early, I need to take a call. So how is that behavior impacting my usage of applications? So these all parameters that I'm telling are definitely not captured in any of the data, but it's actually impacting how I'm using any kind of product. And eventually the companies would realize that this is something that they need to capture. May not today, but this is impacting how I'm using this application, will turn around in some of their metrics over time. I might stop paying Uber for rider pass over time. I might stop using Uber over time, right? So this behavior would definitely come, but it's not something directly that you would be able to follow, right? Did I answer? Cool.
Something like if somebody is registered and they've been using and then suddenly there's a drop, they haven't used it for say 3 months, if you're measuring 3 months, or then that should be something that organizations, I don't know if they're already doing it, look at why. So it's actually in a way drop off a client, right?
Even in that sense, if you would start to think of a period, right? When should I exactly count that user to be churned?
Yeah.
Right? Maybe I am coming back, like I didn't use Uber for 2 years now. When COVID was there, I was at home, I didn't use it. But after COVID again I started using Uber because metro was not an option, right? So for those 2 years Uber considered me as a churned user, or did they actually included COVID as a situation to understand if a user was churned? Yeah.
I have another thing to add, that you were just talking about the comparison thing, like we generally do it with Zomato and Swiggy as well. So if I have to order something, I will go and check Zomato first and Swiggy then later, and whichever gives me the best offer is where I'm going to order my food from.
Correct.
And recently with InDriver, since you have the facility of giving your own offer, so that's where Uber has it has gotten hit. So I suppose that if as the founder of Uber, I include this some sort of artificial intelligence to see that okay, if this mostly users are coming, they see the prices and then they go away. They don't book a ride. So this system quickly understands that obviously this has become a frequent behavior for a particular user, or let's suppose a set of users. So which means that they are they're doing comparisons. So they check the prices, they go somewhere else. So when something like this happens, maybe a quick offer pops up and says, okay, you're looking for a better fare, propose your own fare or something like that. So that's just a suggestion. If something like that, as a founder I can think of, or obviously founder doesn't think of these things, they think of the higher level things, but just a suggestion, something like this can
definitely would come up. And I think Uber might be somewhere already measuring how much they are losing to in-drivers. But very interesting thing that I have understood about drivers, like there's one driver that on a every alternate day basis, he picks up from my house. Okay, he's using Uber and in-driver both.
Yeah.
Okay. And every day, like I also know who that person is, And whenever I see his bid, like if I am, for example, I am saying that I will go by 330, right? 330 rupees I would offer in my bid, right? And he would do it like 370, 350, 370, 350, then 330 until I change my bid, right? And when he picks me up, he says, every day you do 330. Uber to 400 दिखाता है, ठीक है? So these are the same people who are using Uber and InDriver both. They are also playing with the app, which is right now not in the app. That knowledge is not inside the app, right? So this is not very straightforward if you would think, and it's very creative problem to solve actually. I think every problem which is there, since this is happening for the first time, people like us, people even in tier 2 cities, not even tier 3, tier 1 and tier 2 cities who are traveling, who have just started traveling, who just started booking, who have just started using Geo, who has just started using 4G, the behavior change that is there is interesting because it will bring more opportunities, new opportunities, more competition, more options. Wider the options, how exactly the decision making is hampered is something that every company is going to suffer in the coming time. Every single product company, every single startup which is right now just coming up in the market is definitely going to compete. Right? We would see that even in, it's not just digital, we would only even see that in the physical products. Like if I would talk about Lakme, Maybelline, Revlon, now being competed by Mamaearth, Sugar, right? They are also entering into the segment, they are expanding their catalog, Mamaearth bringing in lipsticks, competing with Lakme on prices, similar prices. Lakme has been here for years. My mother is using, Nani was using, Tani was using. So it was there since years, and Mamaearth just entered into lipstick and competing with the prices of Lakme. So how is that happening? How that behavior is being developed? Again, that behavior is being imposed by Amazon, Flipkart, Mamaearth's own website, Instagram, Facebook, right?
Various influencers talking about variety.
Exactly.
User base is now asking for what's new. Because there is so much in the market that everyone wants something unique.
More
something
options.
More options, exciting, yeah.
Yeah.
And moving towards organic, I think Mamaearth and you connecting it to the earth, vegan, you get that, that green factor.
Right.
That it's more natural, it's more organic.
Right.
You use something that is safer. So that's where the catch is.
Right. Teaching your own consumer is also becoming like a trend, right? Influencers are teaching people how to use a product. Use this after you have to use this. They'll fill you up within 3 minutes. They will fill you up with products, and you are spending like 2,000, 3,000 in a single cart. And check on Amazon. If I go and buy something, I might buy across categories. But these D2C brands are expanding and they are helping users buy across categories for their brand. On Amazon, Flipkart, you might be competing across brands because Amazon, Flipkart is also going to suggest products in the same category for different brands where you can compare your prices and you might choose what you want to buy on. On a D2C brand, now the power is in D2C brand since they have spent so much to bring you on their website. Now how they actually use you to help get that ad revenue out of you and help you spend more on that particular brand, right? So all of this is already here. We might not realize it, but it's already here. Data, target, measurement, it's already happening every single of the day, and it's very interesting and it's very innovative, right? You just need to think how you can be creative with the problem. You have the problem. People would stress, okay, now we have a problem, we have to solve. But think that this is an opportunity to put a dent into the market. What new you can do to put that dent? Or you keep on following the crowd, what the competitors are doing. It has been years, there has been books, there has been talks about following your competitors, how you can do your competitor research. But now is the time where people want to do something new. We'll come with something new in the market to break the competitor. We'll not do what the competitor is doing. We're not competing on prices. We are not competing on categories. Now we are competing on something new. How innovative I can be to bring something new in the market. Right? Okay, so now we were talking about most of the positive things. Somewhere we did talk about a little bit of negative things. you being the founders of Uber, you already spend so much time on thinking about the positive things that you have, right? Now this is the moment where we will think about positive plus negative, right? So we will do a small exercise around Okay, now we have two sections. One is leading metrics and what is lagging metrics. Now, if from the past exercise that we had, where we said that increasing the market share of Uber by 60%, if I take that exercise again, I would want to think around what exactly will help me lead and what exactly will help me lag. So when I say lead is something which is a positive contributor to your metric, to your target, and lagging is actually a negative contributor to your metric. Like for example, on a construction site, the people who are wearing the jackets and everything, right, would be a leading metric, saying that you have like a lot of labor who's working there for the construction. So we can just say ki construction would be completed in so and so time. That would be a leading metric. Then lagging metric would be how safer this labor is, right? How many labor is wearing the helmet? Maybe the labor is not wearing a helmet, right? So that will increase the danger on the site, can maybe cause something dangerous, a casualty or something. That can actually impact the time you will take to build that construction, right? So now you have to think from that perspective. If I have to increase the market share by 60% for Uber, what exactly is going to be a leading metric for me? And what exactly is going to be a lagging metric for me?
No, because lagging is not clear to me.
Okay. Lagging is something which will drag you down from your target. It can be something which is not something that you are seeing right now. That because if I have to measure a metric, I am mostly thinking about how I have to reach that target, what numbers are increasing that are leading me to that target. But the losses that I'm making, the inefficiencies I'm making,
Negative reviews.
Anything that can be contributing to reduce that down, that leading metric will be reduced and impacted. That is what we'll capture in lagging metric. Okay, so we will use only two stickies here, one for leading and one for lagging, right? So only think of one metric in each.
One metric in each.
Yes.
Okay, I have another confusion. One metric can lie in both, like for example, customer satisfaction score. That can be leading also, that can be lagging also. It depends upon the score we have.
So that is actually always leading, because if it is dropping, then also it is something that you are forward following, right? But if I would say uninstalls compared to my customer satisfaction, that would be a lagging metric, because this is not what I'm actively seeing, but actually contributing to the fall in the score. Fall in the score may not be because I am giving a bad rating, but it can be because of the churn. Cool. So we are done. Okay. Starting with the leading metrics. So we have amount spent on road in driving versus sitting as pillow riders. PPL?
ये पीछे बैठते ना pillion
अच्छा okay
bike.
okay got it pillion okay ठीक है. Then there is CSAT we have common. Number of new registrations, DAO/MAU, okay. Drop in rides per user. Then there is number of bookings. Okay, these are good leading metrics. Who would want to explain DAO and you?
Stickiness, yeah.
Explain.
Okay, so daily active users, how many users you have? So firstly, MAU is monthly active users. So how many in a given month, how many number of users did you have? Let's say I had 1 lakh users. who used my app or launched my app or installed my app in a month. Right? That would be MAU. Then DA would be, let's say, out of these 1 lakh users, on a daily basis, how many of these users launched the app on a daily basis? So let's say on a daily basis, I have an average that 6,000 users were basically opening up the app on a daily basis. So then you calculate the percentage. What would be the percentage? So let's say 6,000 by 1 lakh. So that would be 6%. So 6% is the stickiness of my app. So when the stickiness reduces, that means that users are moving away from your app. They are not interacting much with your app or your product, whatever product you have. So that could be a very good indicator, which could tell you going forward, these users will churn. They haven't churned right now, but they might churn. So that is the leading that gives you an advance that they will be churning. So you can take action based on this metric.
Okay. And now in lagging metrics, we have reduction in overall users of road, paid transport, government policy, price hike, query success hit rate, query of booking, number of inactive or uninstallation users of app, number of uninstalled. Yes.
Uninstall is a good lagging metric.
Hmm.
If you uninstall, you're gone.
Hmm.
Go there. That would be a good metric.
Okay. And how you would want to read uninstalls against which leading metric?
More users
Number of
versus
users
uninstalls.
registered
Hmm.
Number of users registered
Stickiness
versus
one.
number of registered, number of users uninstalled.
Okay. And if I would want to read DAO/mouth as in stickiness,
this and that.
this and
The one that we were just talking about.
Uninstalls.
Uninstall.
Uninstalls.
Yeah.
okay, stickiness versus uninstalls.
Hmm.
Okay. And what else? Reduction in overall users on road, paid transport. This is a lagging metric. You would want to read this against which leading metric?
Maybe one of the leading metric could also be how many people have started using their own vehicle month on month, how much it has gone up. So that could be a good metric, leading metric for the one that you're talking about in the lagging.
Can you just repeat the lagging metric which we were talking?
Reduction in overall users of road / paid transport.
So people who are using any paid transportation, like not their own car,
Yeah.
if there is a reduction in that, I don't know from where you get the data,
Yeah.
but I have thought about that. I don't know, car sales or
Yeah.
something to do with if there is a substantial increase in car, vehicle
Probably fuel
sales
consumption.
or fuel consumption
Yeah.
by private vehicles.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we say let's say the fuel prices reduce.
Our time box is already used a long time ago.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. So okay, so reduction in overall users, I guess, would be impacted by the increase in fuel rates. Can be somewhat,
Yeah.
right? So if I increase in fuel rates can be my leading metric, and then lagging could be reduction in overall users. I think this was also a bit difficult for us to do from the last one, right? I think we are still very weak on thinking of lagging metrics. Somehow there's a perspective where we are only good in thinking about good and innovative ideas to improve, but to find inefficiencies, to find loopholes, we are still very weak in our head to think about, which is also one thing that I wanted to highlight with this exercise. So wherever I think we are very more inclined, I guess, towards thinking about what is going to positive that we are going to happen, because we're already clear what target we want to achieve. We are already, start building that plan in our head, that what we need to do to reach that plan. That planning is already there. But what we might miss out on, what knowledge we need to have before we think of that target, where we are already burning money, where we are already losing our users, is still something which remains secondary. Nobody is thinking of it as primary or actively checking it or actively pursuing it. So that is what I wanted to bring out. So whenever you were thinking of KPIs, to summarize the whole exercise that we did, whenever we are thinking about targets, we come down to KPIs. KPIs can be multiple, contributing to one single target. Your target can be as big enough as something you would want to pursue in 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, in a month, and your KPIs would depend on your target, how big enough your KPIs are, or what molecular things, granular things you are actually measuring through those KPIs would also depend on the frequency or the target you want to work on, right? Then you work on data source. Do you have plenty amount of data in your applications, or this would require you to create new data in your application to start measuring something that will give me some understanding maybe after 6 months or a year, right? If I think about the AI idea that we got, maybe for the prediction itself, I would need some years of data. So do I start building that today in order to build something AI in the coming years, right? And when we think of a problem, think of what can lead to that solution and what can make me lag in that solution that I'm building. Is also something that you should always think about. Not just how I can lead, but how I can lag is also something that you should put your thoughts on. Right? So that is it, guys. Thank you so much for being such a sport and helping me.
Thank you so much. It was